I'm Jodie Summers, I groom for Mary King. Welcome to Horse and Hound's Clipping Masterclass. Today I will be clipping King's Temptress, who we call Tess here. She's an 8-year-old mare who we're taking off to Boekelo in Holland on Monday. When clipping a horse, you have to think quite carefully about what you're going to wear. I would personally think about wearing some sensible shoes, good yard boots do the job. Avoid wearing any fleecy clothing because the hairs that you clip off will just stick to you and make you very, very itchy. It's usually a good idea maybe to try and wear some overalls if you have them. If not, just try and wear something that's got a little bit of slip to it. Wear a cap to keep your hair back from your face. And also, if you were clipping a difficult horse, you should consider wearing a riding hat. When clipping a horse, you need to consider where you're going to clip it, indoors or out, which would really depend on you and the horse, taking in weather considerations and your horse. Obviously, if it's raining, I would recommend going inside. However, some people might have a horse who's not comfortable at all with being inside and in stables and would be comfortable outside. I personally would prefer to clip outside purely because lighting's always a benefit. In preparation, I would ensure that the horse has a good clean coat. It doesn't have to be necessarily freshly bathed, but just make sure there's no grease or grime or any mud. This can blunt the blades very quickly. When using mains clippers, you should always have a circuit breaker fitted and of course be very careful with wires all around the horse. Make sure you go quite wide behind them so they can't be standing on them. Before going ahead and clipping your horse, you need to make sure that the clippers are running, the blades are sharp and the tension's correct, and make sure they are very well oiled. Today we're using Lister clippers. Make sure that you've got the tension correct on your clippers. Now bear in mind this varies for different manufacturers of clippers. For the tension for those, you need to tighten it all the way around. There's a little marker there, and then you need to turn it back 1.5 and you're set to go. Now remember, before you start as well and whilst you're clipping, always keep oiling. So to start off, clip along the blades and fill in the well. Never take your clippers directly to a horse, even if they're used to clipping. You would only do a couple of clips a year max, so it can quite often be a bit different and a bit new, so always be a bit cautious. I personally would always approach the horse's shoulder, give them a stroke, and then take the clippers to them gently. If they're comfortable with that, switch them on and then approach the horse in the same way. When clipping, the best technique to use is long strokes, not short little diggy ones. That way you get a more even, neat clip and you don't end up spending your whole day clipping. Always go against the hair growth and take your time, especially if you're not confident. It's always better to take your time. Right, so now we're going to move on to her saddle patch. We need to go really carefully around the lines because if we take off too much, we could go into where the saddle sits and puts pressure on, so we need to be really careful. When you're finished, wipe your horse down with a warm wet sponge. This gets rid of any little horrible hairs that's going to irritate them. And remember, you've taken quite a lot of hair off them and they're going to start feeling the cold, so you need to compensate and start rugging up. So once you've finished, it's really important to look after your clippers and make sure you put them away. Even though it is so tempting just to leave them out, it's really important to put them away. So first of all, you want to make sure you brush off all of the hairs back in the box. So when it comes to your main clipper set, you need to remove the blades, taking off the tension set completely, removing the blades, and make sure you give them a really good clean. Back in their packet. And then go all the way over the handset. And store them in a cool, dry place. At the end of a busy clipping season, it's always advisable to send off your clippers, your trimmers and all your blades to a clipper specialist. They will then service your handsets and sharpen your blades ready for the following season. If you've enjoyed this video, come back next time for some more clipping tips.